Well, we're finally in full dormancy and it's time to cover your Macrophllya, Quercifolia, and Serrata hydrangeas, also known as big leaf, mophead, oak leaf, lace cap, and mountain. It's important that you cover those varieties of hydrangeas in zones 5, 6, and 7. 15 degrees Fahrenheit is the kill temp for the spring buds that form on the fall old wood. So starting in about August, September, all of those varieties of hydrangeas put out their spring buds on their fall old wood. So they bloom on old wood. So you have to protect those buds that are already formed from the 15 degree and lower weather. Also, it protects them in the spring. Once those buds start to leaf out and you get a cold front or a frost, that kills them back again. So it's really important to cover them in 5, 6, and 7 from the 15 degree temperature, but also from the spring frost. So this is important to cover them and then not take them off until May 1st at least, or until all the chance of frost is gone. Here's what you'll need to start. You can either, if you have a small hydrangea, use a tomato cage as your base. Or if you have a larger hydrangea or maybe multiple hydrangeas next to each other, this is what I'm personally gonna do. You need a few of these kind of either bamboo stakes or fake bamboo stakes to hold your netting. And I'm using this garden netting from Home Depot. It's just plastic netting or plastic fencing. You can also use chicken wire if you need something a little bit stronger. This was a little bit cheaper, which is why I used it. You're also going to need some burlap. So you can use new burlap or burlap bags that you can buy at feed stores, or I have them linked on my Amazon storefront, so you can go check them out there. This is what I used last year. So what's really nice is that once you've cut it and used it, you can use it every year after that. I just keep it in my garden shed in a bag. So you need some burlap, enough to go all the way around and on top of your hydrangeas. You'll want some scissors to cut your burlap, and then you can either use twine or ribbon. Honestly, you can use anything. I'm using these little plastic zip ties to attach the burlap to the sides of my fencing, and also probably I'm going to interweave the stakes in between my fencing, but I can probably also use these to attach them just so that they stay nice. And then if you are using the stake and fencing method, you'll want like a hammer or a mallet to bang them into the ground. So also some gloves, because it gets kind of messy when you're filling it up. You'll also want something to use as insulation for your hydrangeas once you build the cage around it, something to fill it. So you can use leaves or straw. I know that they have some other mediums that you can use. These are my two personal favorites because they're easier to get. The last time I raked leaves, we just dumped them all on this flower bed so that I had them to use. But then I also grabbed a half bale of straw, which also works really well. And you can get this at any like garden or feed store. Pretty much any time of the year they have it for animals. So it's an easy thing if you don't have any dry leaves yet. They don't have to be super dry either. These have been in a pile for a while. They're gonna get wet, they're gonna get matted down. So whatever you have, as long as they're not super soggy and they'll work really well to fill it, that'll work. So back here in this corner of my flower bed, I have 2 endless summers. I actually only have 2 Macrophllya hydrangeas of all of my hydrangeas, mostly because I don't want to have to cover all of them. And we have, you know, we can have pretty harsh winters here in Idaho. So these are the only 2 that I do it for, and they're kind of hidden, so it's not that big of a deal. Last year, I used the tomato cage on it. This year, they're just slightly too big to use the tomato cage. If I tucked the branches underneath, I could probably get away with it, but this year I'm just gonna do both of them together using the stake method. So I'm gonna start by putting a few stakes on the sides and making kind of a rectangular cage around it. I'm going to do it on all 4 sides, on all the corners, put a stake on each one. So I've got a stake on all 4 corners, and then because of the expanse, I decided to put 2 on either side of the middle as well. So I've got this netting, and I'm going to start feeding it through the first stake, just kind of weaving it in and out of the holes, just to keep it on there so that I can go around the 4 sides. And then just make sure that you keep your hydrangea branches inside of the netting. Then you can unroll it, and you don't have to attach it to the other ones. Just unroll it all the way around. You just need a place to start. So you want to take this all the way around to your start point. Once you get your netting all the way around, you can use your twine or your zip ties to close the 2 sides together. And then I'm just going to attach it right to my stake to keep it closed. And I'll do it once at the top and once at the bottom. So you can see this netting is significantly higher than my hydrangeas, which actually only come to about here. So once I get it filled, I'm actually going to bend it over and cover it so that the leaves are all completely enclosed in the netting. Well, so I've created my base. It's all the way around the hydrangeas, so it's now time to start filling. If you were using a tomato cage, all you do is put it over the hydrangeas and then just start filling it up. And a little bit will fall out the sides if you're using a tomato cage, but really not many. You're gonna kind of keep it compact in there, so it's not a big deal. So I'm gonna start filling this up with some leaves and some straw. I think I'm just gonna use kind of a combo of both since I have both. So you can see as I'm filling this up, I'm kind of pulling out the sides a little bit and tucking the leaves around the edges. It'll fall pretty well down between the branches, but I just want to make sure that it's completely insulated and protected from the sides. So just pull out this fencing and tuck leaves and straw around the outside, just so it has a nice cushioned sides all the way around the plant. And if you need to just kind of shake it and move it around to get it to settle down, it won't hurt anything. It's totally dormant right now anyway. You're not going to do anything. If you had really tall hydrangeas, you wouldn't have to do anything more than this. You'd fill it all the way to the top, covering the tops of the hydrangeas, and then cover with burlap. Because mine are a little bit shorter and I have a little bit of extra fencing, I'm going to just fold it down a little bit. So I'm going to cut it so that it can fold down. I'm going to cut the corners. Go. So they can fold down towards each other, and then I'm going to zip tie them together so it makes a nice cover. corners cut, and I'm just gonna fold these. So I've got these folded down on the sides, and then I'm just gonna use a zip tie and attach them together so that it stays nice and covered and it has a good area for the burlap to go on top of. So I've got that one, and then I've got this one, and I'm gonna do this one really quick. So then I've got my base, I've got it filled, so it's fully insulated, and then I'm gonna take my burlap and I'm going to just kind of attach it to that stake and start wrapping it around, and then attaching it with my little zip ties here to the sides on these stakes, through the netting and through the burlap. And then I'm just gonna finish wrapping it and then doing the top as well. And that's it. I've fully wrapped it all the way around, attached the two sides together. If you had a roll of burlap, you could just do one big thing. Because I did two last year, I had two separate pieces, so I just attached them with some zip ties, and then I laid one across the top and tucked it into these stakes and attached them. And there you go, that's it. I really hope this was helpful. Leave me any questions in the comments or send me a DM if you just have any other questions about it, and thanks for watching.